Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's board meeting. It is October 3rd, 2017, approximately 5:33 in the afternoon. As we do before all of our public meetings, we begin our meeting with an invocation, and this evening that will be performed by Pastor Leonard Thompson from the Heart Cry Chapel. We will recite our Pledge of Allegiance, and for that we have Mr. Connor Gilbert. He is our principal of Celebration High School. We will perform the National Anthem, and for that we have the St. Cloud High School Chamber Choir Ensemble under the direction of Choral Director Ms. Tammy Combs. Our mission statement will be read to us by Mr. David Noyes. He's the principal of Kissimmee Elementary. And as always, translation services will be brought to us by our Executive Director of Multicultural Department, Ms. Belinda Reyes. At this time, I will ask for you to, number one, silence your cell phones, and number two, please stand up for our invocation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for this privilege to be here. Would you pray with me, please? Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come together as people desiring to improve our communities, our education system, and those things that result from that. Father, we pray tonight for these leaders, for our school board members, for the superintendent, her staff. Pray, Father, for wisdom, for guidance, for understanding. We pray, Father, that they would look to you for that wisdom, for that knowledge, to make decisions, to make choices that affect our young people in their education and, in essence, our society. Father, we thank you that we live in a country that we have the freedom to do this and to seek you and to seek your guidance. Father, we pray for those in the tragedy that just recently took place, as most everyone knows. We pray for those families and those people affected. We pray for that community. And God, we pray for our country. We pray, Father, that our country would turn to you. We pray, God, that you would look on us with favor, that you would look on our community, on our school systems with favor, that you would give us direction, and you would give us grace, and you would give us your peace. And Father, we thank you for the blessings to live in a country such as you've given us. And so, God, we ask for your help to govern it and to guide it according to your principles and your desires and for the betterment of humanity. And Father, we thank you in the strong name of Jesus. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave?
Our mission statement is inspiring all learners to reach their highest potential as responsive, productive citizens.
Thank you, sir. All right. Board members, do we have any positive comments? I will begin from my left.
Sure, since Mr. Wheeler isn't here, he gave me 2 pages that he'd like me to just to,
Oh, get
for those
started.
of you who come frequently to the school board meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll take it. I do have some. First, I want to say thank you to Tico for preparing the food tonight, the culinary department there. It was excellent, and even more so since I just weighed in 2 hours previous. So I appreciate you bringing the sausage and chicken biscuits and empanadas and all those good things. So I appreciate it. But no, thank you guys. Thank you. What a great week to sing and celebrate our national anthem too. And thank you to those young folks. We appreciate that. Thank you all for standing. Wanted to say quickly, I had the opportunity to go with Dr. Pace to the St. Cloud Chamber annual banquet, and where she was awarded the Good Government Award for the year. So congratulations to Dr. Pace from the St. Cloud Chamber. She's doing a fantastic job. Also, today I want to thank Ms. Phelps for having me out. Mr. Phelps, the better half of Mr. and Mrs. Phelps. Mrs. Phelps for having me out today to the Teacher Academy. I've done it, I think, 3 years in a row to explain to the kids all about school board and what school board members do. And after all that, the discussion is, why do we have a dress code and why do you make us wear these uniforms? So, but nonetheless, I appreciate her having me out. And that teaching academy is a wonderful thing, and I'm glad we are building our own here in Osceola County and having folks come back as teachers. What's that? St. Cloud High School. Sorry, Nate. Thank you for Go Bulldogs, by the way. I wasn't going to talk about the football game, but I guess that you. So I got to go to that too. I did get to go to the football game. Harmony and St. Cloud's. Is Mr. Hickey here? No, so I won't talk about it then. I enjoyed it. It was a great game. Had my top 10 breakfast here. This is the 3rd year we've been doing those. I wanted to thank Commissioner Hawkins, State Representative LaRosa, Superintendent Pace, Miss Amanda Lopez, Principal Fancher, Principal Hickey, our communications staff. We had a wonderful breakfast. For those of you who don't know, we bring our top 10 academic juniors from St. Cloud and Harmony. These guys, gentlemen, will be doing that later in the month to kind of mingle and see what we can do to help those kids if they want to apply to some of those highly competitive universities. And I, again, Representative LaRosa, Commissioner Hawkins have been there each and every year and have helped some kids out, and I really appreciate it. And Congressman Soto, he couldn't be there, sent one of his folks as well, so I wanted to thank Darren personally. And just on a side note, I told you I was going to be Jay tonight. Young lady stood up that I recognized. Her name was Alejandra. I recognized her because she was the student selected to be in the video when my wife was a top 10 teacher. And, of course, she asked all about my wife, didn't ask how I could help her, but she is but I just wanted to remind everybody, Alejandra came here as an elementary student, couldn't speak a lick of English, and it was a whole community effort. Her parents, her teachers, and my wife was a librarian at the time, to help Alejandra learn to speak English. And then by the end of the year, she was on the morning announcements, and now she is one of the top 10 juniors in high school. So it's a community effort. And it's a credit not only to her hard work, but the hard work of her parents as well, and the importance of parental involvement. So thank you. Also, I translated with my translator, Chairman Soto, Orar por Puerto Rico. Was that pretty good?
Yes.
So I did want to say that we do need to pray for our Puerto Rican brothers and sisters. And I don't just believe in prayer. I believe that prayer brings us guidance and direction. And so this week I had the opportunity to speak briefly, but to speak and hand deliver a letter to Governor Scott while he was in Kissimmee. I've had conversations with Congressman Soto, Representative LaRosa, Commissioner Adam Putnam. Dr. Pace and her leadership team have been doing some extraordinary work to try to get us the help that we know we're going to need when folks in this community invite their family members into their homes. So I just wanted to thank everyone for their leadership, and it's been an honor and a privilege to work on this. And I know, being of Puerto Rican descent himself, that Chairman Soto has been doing a lot as well. So it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be tough for us, but we can get it done. If we can't help folks out, then who are we? And so I know we can get there. We've got a great leadership team in place, and we'll make it through. So, Chairman, that's it.
Well said, Mr. Booth. Mr. Thacker.
I don't have anything to add after that.
Indeed.
After Alejandro, there's not much left to add to that.
No, good. Mr. Weisseier.
I yielded my 20 minutes to Mr. Booth on that.
I told you Jay gave me 2 sheets. I apologize.
I don't, because, Mr. Booth, you did an exceptional job, I think, of sharing the heart of this board this evening. So thank you for your great words.
And I would only add that we have, as of today, welcomed 86 students into our school district as a result of the 3 storms. Going back to Harvey, have a couple from Houston, and then also from Irma from South Florida in some areas, and then now Maria. And we continue and will continue to work with the board, with the community, to open our doors and welcome these students and their families and serve them to the very best of our ability.
Thank you, Superintendent. All right, so with that said, we will proceed to our presentation portion of our school board agenda. Our first presentation will be brought to us by Melanie Stefanowitz, and that is a recognition of Technical Education Center TECO student Franklin San Giovanni. If you could please come to the podium.
Excuse me. It is my honor to introduce the board to Franklin San Giovanni. Franklin is a student at TECO in our Med Lab Assisting program who was on a class change when he noticed another student in distress. Quickly realized that student was choking, administered the Heimlich maneuver, saved the student, and because of his quick thinking action, that student is alive, and well with us here today. Franklin. So we have an award for you.
Before I continue with our next presentation, I was reminded, and I would be remiss to not mention that we have a very special guest amongst us, a very good friend of mine and our past superintendent, Melba Luciano, but I don't see her. Can you wave? That's why. So I did not catch a glimpse, but thank you, Mr. Weisseier.
Yeah, she was standing. I don't know how you didn't see her.
See, now he's, I didn't say that part, no. I believe you're going to be presenting something in the future, so, I mean, later on down in this, and I'm looking forward to that. Our next presentation is going to be announcing Florida Principals Month, and for that we have Drs. Respes, Reinhardt, and Mr. Allen. Please.
Good evening, Board and
Good evening,
Superintendent and guests. The month of October has been designated by the National Association of Secondary School Principals as School Principal Month. The School District of Osceola County recognizes the leadership of our school principals at all levels to inspire all leaders to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens. And so expressing that support for the designation of October 2017 as Florida Principals Month, Here's our proclamation. Whereas the Florida Association of School Administrators declared the month of October 2017 as Florida Principals Month, whereas principals and assistant principals are expected to be educational visionaries, instructional leaders, assessment experts, disciplinarians, community builders, public relations experts, budget analysts, facility managers, special programs administrators, and guardians of various legal, contractual, and policy mandates and initiatives, as well as being entrusted with young people, the most valuable resource. Whereas principals will play a vital role in successful implementation of the Every Student Succeeds Act.
Whereas principals set the academic tone for their schools and work collaboratively with teachers and teacher leaders to develop and maintain high curriculum standards, develop mission statements, and set performance goals and objectives. Whereas the vision, dedication, and the determination of a principal provides the mobilizing force behind any school reform effort. Whereas the celebration of Florida Principals Month would honor exemplary elementary, middle, and high school principals and recognize the importance of school leadership in assuring that every child had success to a high-quality education.
Be it resolved, in honor of the service of all elementary, middle, and high school principals, and to recognize the importance of their school leadership so that every child has access to a high-quality education, and to celebrate school leader accomplishments, the month of October 2017 is hereby designated to be Florida Principals Month.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion? I have a little bit to say. Number one is I'd like to, first of all, acknowledge the hard work that each and every principal does in our district. I know we have the principal for a day, but I've been a school board member for 5 years, but a lot of folks, even parents, there's a lot of other things in their minds, and they just know how wonderful things work out in the school, but the leadership that the principal brings, without it just doesn't happen. The other point I wanted to make is the great lengths that our superintendents, Melba and now Dr. Pace, Ms. Luciano, no, Dr. Pace, just the hard work and the attention that they put in when they pass on this great responsibility to an individual. It's just amazing. And the talent and HR, what they go through to make sure that we got the right people, the right talent, it all comes together because this is by far the most important position of any school district when it comes to the well-being of your child. So I just want to express my gratitude to that regard. With any further discussion,
I got one.
Oh, you do have. Okay. Since I brought it up.
Since I'm on it tonight. I just wanted to say that I do remember when we were doing our superintendent interviews, and I think I've brought this up before at workshops and other. Dr. Pace, I think, had the best answer to any question. It was the best of any answer of any question. It was the best question and the best answer.
Yes.
What is your most important job as a superintendent? And that's the principals that I hire and the principals I put in place. And I think she's absolutely correct in that. So let's celebrate Principals Month.
Well, let's take a vote first.
Before we do, why don't we have any principals that are here please stand to be recognized
absolutely.
for great work.
Absolutely. So all right. So we have a motion by Mr. Thacker, second by Mr. Booth.
No, Mr. Weisher.
Second by Mr. Weisler? All right. With no further discussion, please, let's take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, the vote passes 4-0. Thank you very much for that presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this a great segue or what?
Indeed. Principal of, yes. So, Dr. Pace, well, it has your name on this, Dr. Pace, to present.
Actually, this is a task that I have happily delegated, although I couldn't be more proud of the team that we are recommending and recognizing tonight as our principal and assistant principal of the year. So take it away, ladies.
Thank you. We would like to formally recognize here in front of the school board, superintendent, and all of the guests, recognize and celebrate our Osceola District Schools Principal of the Year and our Assistant Principal of the Year. So David Noyes is the principal of Kissimmee Elementary School. Throughout Mr. Noyes' career, he has held the following positions. He's been a teacher at Reedy Creek Elementary, teacher at Highlands Elementary, dean of students at Parton Settlement Elementary, assistant principal at Poinciana Academy of the Fine Arts, and assistant principal at Ventura Elementary. He received his Bachelor's of Art degree in English Literature from New York at Potsdam and a master's degree in education from National Louis University. Please join me in congratulating Mr. Noyes.
Come stand up here. You can say something.
You want me to say something? I have to with all my, listen, this really goes to the hardworking students at Kissimmee Elementary, and most importantly, my staff. Stand up. I know that I may be a little bit biased. However, if you come through my building, you know that I have the hardest working staff who care about kids, and every day come, no free day. They come every day ready to work, give it everything they've got for the students of Osceola County. So really, this all goes to you guys. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Before you go on, David, who would have thought 65 years ago when we worked together at Reedy Creek Elementary? It was that many years ago, was it not, that we worked together at Reedy Creek? Yeah, but maybe 63 years ago, yeah. Congratulations, though.
I just wanted to know who's going to win Teacher of the Year from Kissimmee Elementary.
3 out of 4 is
All right.
All right, thank you. Well, I would like to introduce to you Connor Gilbert, who was the assistant principal at Harmony High School, and he's currently the principal at Celebration High School because of the amazing job that he did there. Throughout his career, Connor has held the following positions. He was a paraprofessional at Gateway High School. He was a teacher at Osceola High, dean of students at Osceola High, and an assistant principal at Harmony High. He received his bachelor's degree in business administration from the College of Charleston in South Carolina, and a master's degree in educational leadership from National Louis University. Please join me in congratulating Connor Gilbert, our assistant principal of the year.
Oh, goodness. No, I just want to thank you for the opportunity that Dr. Pace has given me to move on from the assistant principal role that I had at Harmony High School to move on out to Celebration. And just want to thank her for the opportunity and the trust that she's given me into making this move. And just want to thank her for all her leadership that she has shown us all in this short time that we've got to spend with her. So thank you guys very much.
Congratulations.
I thought about making you bring your plaques in so we could give them to you.
That's my calm down.
They do.
Just a second.
They're coming.
Hold that.
I have lunch on my shirt. Back row.
Well, I'm ruining the picture.
Kevin, I gotta get That's good.
All right.
Congratulations again.
Congratulations.
Great work.
Next up is an adoption of proclamation. This one is for National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, October of 2017. The director with Help Now is here to lead us through this proclamation. Miss Evelyn Jackson, would you please attend to the podium? All right, welcome everyone. I see you have a group effort here.
We do.
Excellent.
Good evening. Thank you all. My name is Tammy Douglas, and I have had the great honor of being the Executive Director of Help Now of Osceola for the last almost 12 years now. And we really want to say thank you all for the great partnership with the school district in working on domestic violence and specifically teen dating violence. We're very grateful for the relationships that we've built with the school district. And this evening, we have with us some of our participants with Help Now to read this proclamation for you this evening. So thank you again for having us.
Whereas between 3.3 million and 10 million children in the United States live in a household where domestic violence is shown. Whereas domestic violence in childhood is directly correlated with the difficulties learning, lower IQ skills, deficiencies in visual motor skills, and problems with attention and memory, insomnia, irritability, distractibility, and truancy. And my name is Elimelech Serrano. I am 8 years old. I am from Parton Settlement Elementary and in 3rd grade.
Yay.
Whereas students have shown that school-aged children who witness violence exhibit a range of problems between behaviors including depression, anxiety, and violence towards peers. And whereas children do not understand the cycle to domestic violence and in turn internalize their feelings about the situation. And my name is Xavier Diaz. I'm 11 years old. I go to the school Parton Settlement Elementary. I am a 5th grader.
Whereas boys who have witnessed abuse of their mothers are 10 times more likely to abuse their female partners as adults, and whereas childhood exposure to family violence disrupts cognitive to social developments and lead to an area of adverse outcomes such as violent victimization. My name is Noah. I'm 7 years old. And I'm from Thacker School.
Whereas young people victimized by a dating partner are most likely to engage in risky sexual behavior and unhealthy dieting behaviors, and the experience may disrupt normal development of self-esteem and body image. And whereas nearly half of teens who experience dating violence report that incident of abuse took place in the school building or on school grounds. And I'm Lazari Rachel. I'm 14 and I go to Kissimmee Middle School.
Whereas teen dating violence can increase the risk of later substance abuse, mental health problems, sexual risk behaviors, teen pregnancy, suicide, weight control, and ongoing difficulties with intimate partner relationships. Whereas by providing young people with education about healthy relationships and relationship skills, and by changing attitudes that support violence, we recognize that dating violence can be prevented. I'm Brianna Diaz, I'm 17 years old, and I go to Professional Technical High School. Now therefore, we, the Osceola County School District, do hereby proclaim October 2017 as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month and call upon the citizens of our community to join us in working towards the elimination of personal and institutional violence against all persons. My name is Suheidi Serrano. I am the Children's Counselor at Help Now. I'm here at your service, and thank you so much for recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Motion to approve.
Hi, I'm Noel Rosario. I'm the Children's Advocate at the shelter for Help Now. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you. It's a motion.
Board, we have a motion to approve by Mr. Weisire, second by flip it. Okay, Mr. Thacker. Any discussion? I have just a few comments. Again, Tammy, it was very nice to see you. And your organization, I appreciate what you do and your support to the community. And I really, really enjoyed how you guys performed, each and every one of you. That was just a joy to listen to all of you, your different voices, your different inflection in reading this proclamation. It makes it all the more special. Thank you very much for doing this. With no further comments, then we'll take a vote. Board, all those in favor of this proclamation, please state aye. Aye. And hearing none opposed, the vote passes 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have another proclamation. This one is for the Adult Education Family Literacy Week, which is October 2nd through the 6th. And we had the following students. I could name them now, but is somebody going to introduce them? Okay, Will. All right. So we have Maura Correa. She's a former ESOL and GED student. She just earned her U.S. citizenship last Friday. And we have Mr. Franco Escudero, who's an ESOL student, and he is at the podium. Good afternoon, Mr. Escudero.
Good afternoon.
All right, if you could proceed with leading us.
Whereas more than 60 million Americans can read and write at the most basic level, while 60 million lack basic math skills, as well as the credentials and skills necessary to succeed in post-secondary education, and whereas every year 1 in 3 young adults drop out of high school, and whereas American Action Forum estimates that by 2020, America will be short an estimate 7.5 million private sector workers across all skills levels, and whereas adult education programs contribute to solving these challenges by helping Americans move along that continuum in their educational journey to achieve basic skills and get prepared for career and college, and whereas adult education programs in adult schools, community college, and community centers offer low-cost, high-value programs that upgrade the skill set of our citizens, whereas the Adult Learning Center of Osceola provides English language and adult basic education services to over 3,000 adult students annually, and whereas the Technical Education Center of Osceola provides post-secondary educational opportunities that lead to high-skill, high-wage employment to over 700 students annually, and whereas the School District of Osceola Country celebrates adult education and family literacy weeks as a proud participant in the National Educate and Elevate campaign, which helps our citizens learn about all of their adult education options to attain their professional and personal goals. Thank you.
I'm going to sneak in and put that last one in. So now, therefore, the School District of Osceola County proclaims October 2 through 6, 2017 as Adult and Family Literacy Week.
Thank you.
So moved. Second.
Motion to approve by Mr. Booth. Second by Mr. Weisire. Any discussion? Thank you very much, Mr.
I just wanted to compliment you on reading that proclamation into the record this evening. You did an exceptional job, and I'm really grateful to hear the work that's being done with our adult education, and I'm really proud of the fact that you came up and did such a great job. And so articulately share that with us this evening. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, so any further discussion? Seeing none or hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the vote passes 4-0. Well done. Next is appointments and transfers. Dr. Pace.
Chairman Soto, thank you very much. I'm so excited with the progress that we're making at Tehopekaliga High School. I had the opportunity to tour with some of our community leaders and Mr. Wheeler on Monday, and the facility is coming along very, very nicely. We're also very fortunate tonight to have both Mr. Phelps, the principal, and Mrs. Phelps here from Oregon to spend the evening with us. And we're going to be recommending now, if Ms. Joanna Santiago would come to the podium, I'd like to recommend the transfer of Ms. Santiago from Poinciana High School to serve as the Assistant Principal for Instruction at Tehopekaliga High School. She's ready and excited to be a Tiger. She has been a teacher and a Dean of Discipline at Walton High School in the Bronx of New York. She's been an English teacher, an AVID coordinator, a positive behavior support coordinator, learning resource specialist, and Dean of Students at OHS. And she currently serves as the Assistant Principal of Instruction at Poinciana High. She received her bachelor's degree in English Literature from Mercy College and a master's in Educational Leadership from Phoenix University. And I am pleased to recommend her appointment for the board tonight.
So moved.
Second.
Motion approved by Mr. Thacker, second by Mr. Weissier. Board, any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Please do so.
I'm inclined to vote against this. Yes, and my PHS friends over here are telling me to do the same.
Promise, we'll take care of them.
I'm sure. It's been a real joy to work with you over at Poinciana High School, and anytime I've been on the campus, you've been nothing but a joy to work with. So I look forward to working with you over at the new school. Congratulations, but it's Poinciana's loss for Toho's gain.
Any further discussion?
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Well done. Board, all those in favor, please state aye.
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 Hearing none opposed, the vote passes 4-0. Well done.
Thank you. Is that effective now, or virtually?
Virtually now. She'll be remaining at Poinciana High School and making sure that her duties are covered there, but we do need her assistance now as Mr. Phelps really starts preparing for the choice fair and curriculum and all of those other things that go along with the work. So he's ready to have a teammate.
I bet. I bet.
Yeah.
Is that it for the appointments?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Pace. So we're at a part of our public school board meeting where we give an opportunity to the public to make comments. In order to do so, we ask that you fill out a little yellow sheet that you can get on the back of the room and hand over to me, and we will afford you 3 minutes to come to the podium. I don't have any sheets,
Looks like
but if there's somebody who,
you can bring it up.
other board chairs are not as generous, but I am. I'm not gonna. Oh, hold on. Let me see how else. Okay. Well, Miss Lisa Cardenas, right? Go ahead. Go ahead. Be quick. I'm giving a moment for the room to empty.
I thought everybody was here for item G under business and finance. To accept the monthly reports for July.
Mr. Soto, if I may, we did want to welcome both Mrs. Luciano and also her students are here. They're here from Valencia, their intro to teaching class. Those are our future teachers sitting right out there, and we're excited that they're getting to know the work of the school board. Filling the gap. Thank you.
No, but I would have won this before people left.
Yeah.
I didn't type it properly. You know, by the time that my tenure as board chair comes to an end, I'm going to figure out how to do this properly.
I doubt it.
I'm almost there. I feel it. I'm close. It just escapes me. It's like trying to grab a handful of air.
You know they soak up all the grease from the meat. I know. I weighed in and immediately ate the culinary delights.
I don't know. I don't know.
Where's the lady?
I think I might just be here to observe.
She's not.
Where did they live?
So I got one yellow sheet
Still hasn't returned from outside.
that has not returned from outside. But board, I'm going to invite Ms. Luciano to make a comment about
To dance?
what, so if you wouldn't mind? I'm actually curious, because I know Ms. Luciano is our past superintendent, but she's also I would say professor, you earned that, at the UCF Teachers College, correct?
No, I am currently at Valencia and teaching the Introduction to the Teaching Profession.
So now you're,
Okay,
Professor Luciano. Tell us a little bit about this experience.
I just want you to know, the students that are back here, why don't you stand up? Come on, stand up. There you go. Those are some of my students. Thank you.
Are there no male teachers coming?
There's boys, but I don't know if they got scared. I don't know, but believe me, they will be watching this since they're not here in attendance. Basically, we started the Teacher Academy that you mentioned several years ago, and the high school kids have, for 3 years, have been going through their classes, and this group just graduated. They are very, very fortunate because with our school district, Valencia, and UCF, these students have received a 4-year college. And here's the best part about it. At the end of their 4 years in college, they will be coming back to Osceola County. So we are really honored that they have applied for this, have been accepted, and take it very, very seriously. So as a group, talking about community, this is the educational community in our community gathering together to make sure that we bring highly effective teachers to our district. And that's what we want for our students. So thank you for allowing me to come up here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Professor. All right. So,
Do you want to see if you can stick his head outside and see?
Do you want me to?
Deputy, can you stick your head? Did you see the lady that came up?
Scott, I'll
Scott's gonna.
Okay.
See if she changed her mind or.
I was about to change my mind.
That's what you get for being late.
Yeah, you're social conscience.
Wouldn't expect that from Mr. Booth. Ain't gonna happen like that, right?
Let's go on.
Come on, whatever. We could move along. Can't we take a break and let her speak some other time?
Of course.
During the
We have,
meeting.
our next task is to decide on an agenda modification. So why don't we just get that out of the way?
I have none.
All right.
I would like to pull the item 11 from the consent agenda for discussion.
Okay. Rule 11. All right, got that. Anything else? Okay.
Make sure I
Mr.
pull the
Booth?
right one.
I have none.
I don't have anything. Dr. Pace?
No, sir.
Anybody else? All right. So, do I have a motion to approve the agenda minus number 11 for now? Okay. Motion to approve by Mr. Booth, second by Mr. Thacker. Board, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the vote passes 4-0. On number 11, Mr. Thacker.
I just wanted to, this is a pretty big deal, and any time, I guess, on the agenda when we've got expenditures in the hundreds of millions of dollars and the plan over 5 years, I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, but I think that's something that's worth having a little workshop and going through. There's a lot of stuff in there when I go through and look at some of it where we've got lots of money front-loaded and none in the fifth, whatever the fifth year is, 2021 or whatever. I just think our big role is the superintendent in the budget, and this is a big part of it. I think it warrants a little more discussion than being on a consent agenda.
So what would you, what suggestions would you have for us? Mr.
I mean, it's up to them. I would like to have I don't know if we're under a timeline to prove this or not, the deadline, for one. But if there's not, my preference would be to have a workshop on it and go through it in 30 minutes or something and see. Is there a deadline?
Yes, the deadline was actually October 1st, but due to the delay in the budget being approved by the state this year, they didn't even open the work plan until September. So we're supposed to get them approved as close to October 1st as we can, and this was the first meeting we had to meet that deadline. So basically, what you're looking at is information that's in your 5-year work plan, just loaded into another format that you haven't seen. So the whole first section is put in by finance, and it's just a duplication of your 5-year work plan, which you just approved as your budget process. And then what you see in the out years is just what we're projecting as our needs that are either funded or unfunded in 5, 10, and 20-year increments.
Is this kind of the culmination of the COFD and the work plan that they came? We had people come and help us with? No?
That was the plan survey.
Oh, okay, sorry.
This is actually an annual document that is required by Florida statutes. It has to align with the comp plans with the counties and the few municipalities. And it's basically information that you are accustomed to seeing in other formats, just put to the DOE format.
I guess part of my concern or question is then, when does it, because during the budget package and presentation stuff, we did not really focus. We looked more at the high level of the different accounts and the different funds. I get that it's got to be moved forward, but I just have a problem with
Kelvin.
Rhonda, if I'm correct, their approval tonight does not preclude them from amending it, making changes to it, and updating it. So, Mr. Thacker, you could approve tonight and then have a work session if you want to change things, do it at a subsequent time.
Mr. Weissman.
With the adjustment in the time periods, what if we moved it to our October 17th date? Give the opportunity for the board to have the conversation that's desired and then still deal with it in that time period, being that there's been some flexibility put in place for this year being the cycle that it's been.
I can tell you Florida statute says October 1. It's just a verbal conversation where they have told us to get them in as soon as possible. I'm not aware of any repercussions by not filing this on time, so I can't.
Tim, but we're experiencing an awful lot of different behavior right now with DOE, right, that are raising and creating some issues that we've not seen in the past. So my recommendation would be to approve it with a clear understanding and set a time at the next meeting, or whenever you're going to go through it and you look to modify it to the extent you want. But I cannot assure you, given, Deborah, what you and I went over today, that DOE would not somehow come up with something that could be penalize us.
Mr. Thacker, I would support whatever direction you wanted to go on this. If you wanted to hold off, have a presentation, and then a vote after, I could support that. If you wanted to move forward with what Mr. Kruppenbacher's recommendation is, I can do that. I think your question is valid, and I want to honor it.
Based on that conversation, I've read through it pretty deep, and there's nothing in there I'm freaked out over. I'm fine to approve it if the board is in consensus that we would go ahead and have a workshop on it and go through it in the next few weeks. I mean, I don't care if it's 4 weeks, but not next May, and go through it and kind of, with the understanding that if there's something we all look at and don't quite understand, that could be adjusted.
And Mr. Thacker, I think it was you maybe that made it pretty clear in one of our last workshops that we needed to have some more budget workshops next year ahead of that. So I think this falls right into place, but I would be inclined to approve it tonight.
I'll make the motion to approve it with the stipulation that we will take a further review within the next 4 weeks, whatever works out otherwise.
Second.
That sounds good.
So we have a motion to approve, requesting review as soon as feasible, but within the next 4 weeks by Mr. Thacker, second by Mr. Weissier. Board, any further discussion? Hearing none, we vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, vote passes 4-0. And that brings us to information items. First one is by Ms. Sarah Graber. Information updating the board on Goal 3.
There's more workshops in here?
Not yet. This is
However,
just,
Sarah and I did talk about that today, and we've already been
we are
working with Tanya
scheduling more
about
budget
next year.
workshops.
I know.
All right.
What are we doing here?
How do I do this thing? Good. All right. Good evening, school board members, superintendent, and public. Tonight, I want to give a brief update on Goal 3 of our strategic plan, fiscal responsibility. As you all know, we started our 3-year strategic plan last year. We've had several huge successes in year 1, and now we have begun some year 2 initiatives, so I just want to kind of talk through them. And first, I'll refresh your memory on what Goal 3 consists of. So, Goal 3, fiscal responsibility, we have 3 strategies. The overarching goal is to optimize use of all resources to preserve and protect the taxpayer's investment. So our 3 strategies, first is 3A, evaluate and prioritize use of resources to impact instructional priorities. And this is ensuring we make the best use of our operational dollars to go into the classroom. This strategy is led by Mr. Jose Gonzalez, our Director of Budget. Next, we have strategy 3B, maximize efficient use of capital funding, led by Mr. Mark Clinch, our Chief Facilities Officer, and his team. And lastly, we have strategy 3C, explore alternative revenue sources, led by Mr. Randy Shatera, our Assistant Superintendent for School Operations, along with his team. And so those 3 strategies will remain the same going into year 2. We'll just be adding a couple of activities. So first, we have prioritized instructional resources. First activity under this strategy is to implement a 3-tier bell schedule and reduce additional bus routes. We did begin this initiative last year. It will be a multi-year initiative to truly get to that 3-tier bell schedule. And our next step is to develop stakeholder group to study school start times, which we will be starting in this spring with the intention of implementing in the fall of 19 for the 1920 school year. Next, we have consolidate software and applications. We had some big success in this area last year, and we continue to eliminate additional software programs. Since July 1, we have saved an additional $26,000. We also have increased the required utilization from 90% to 95%. And our next step here will be to continue to track and require 95% utilization as we renew software contracts.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Third activity under this area was to become a choice school district and review the instructional allocation model. As you know, we became a choice district last year. We were able to honor over 2,800 choice applications for the current school year. We have implemented a staffing review process with members of the budget department, human resources, teaching and learning, and the principal of each school to truly talk through the staffing at a detailed level and ensure we're maximizing the number of students we can have for class size. We revised the instructional allocation models for this school year, and we're able to save 79 positions through that process for a total savings of $4.7 million. Next, we have the Center for Employee Health. I know we're doing board updates on this monthly from Ken to board, but just to report, we have now had over 5,000 patients that have visited the center, which is 52% of our employees and dependents. So some real success as far as the utilization of the clinic. As you know, services include nutrition, physical therapy, workers' comp, DOT physicals, and drug screenings. So we continue to have a very robust services for our health center. Out-of-pocket savings to our employees now exceeds $1 million, and that will just continue to grow. And our next step here is to try and reduce the number of no-shows by establishing a financial penalty. We did meet on that last week, and Mr. DeBoer will be providing you guys with an update at the next board meeting.
Ms. Graber, Mr. Thacker has some.
If Ken's going to do an update.
Yes.
Okay.
We've been talking about that a lot.
We did talk about it at the insurance committee last week, and so we will have an update for them. Next activity was to achieve the Governor Sterling Award. Again, this is a multi-year initiative. We have started with the maintenance department, and they completed the Sterling Explorer program, which is the first step. The next step will be for the maintenance department to apply for the Sterling Challenge, which is the next level of the Sterling Award program. And we'll also be implementing a continuous improvement methodology throughout the district for all departments. Lastly, under Strategy 3A, we are adding a new activity for this year, which is district-wide operational efficiencies. So far, we have established a new school opening committee consisting of senior leadership, and that's been for Tohopa-Kalila High School so far. We're meeting bi-weekly with all the leadership department level heads to address concerns as they pop up, make sure that everything's facilitated smoothly as we move towards a school opening for next year. And we'll be doing the same thing with the STEM demonstration high school and then the Harmony area middle. So we've established this committee. Our next steps in this area, we have a couple of initiatives we want to go ahead and start. First is to establish white fleet procedures, which I know Mr. Shater has already begun working on. To implement periodic review of federal funding uses, we will be also establishing a committee for that. And to evaluate opportunities to centralize the purchasing of commodities and services at multiple schools. Strategy 3B, maximize efficient use of capital funding. First activity in this area was to reduce overall energy consumption. Had some success there last year, but over the summer we also completed our Priority 1 chiller projects. And you can see the schools listed there. I believe our last Priority 1 project is Point Siena High School, which is going to be a little bit bigger project that's just coming down the pike. Next up for energy consumption is to implement a new energy management software to allow for monitoring, and then also to establish an energy policy. Next, we have developed maintenance benchmarks to measure effectiveness of operations. We've been doing a lot of work in this area with our maintenance department. They're developing a preventative maintenance schedule for all components and systems. And secondly, we'll be implementing the suggested improvements that came out of the Sterling Explorer program that was completed over the summer. Next, we have prototypes. We have completed the middle school prototype selection process and moved on to the elementary, where we're selecting additional urban and suburban elementary school prototypes. Then we have increased sales tax savings through our owner direct purchase program. We've established baseline data and set goals for increasing sales tax savings. We've already achieved savings of $957,000 on Tohopa-Kalila High School. And our next step is to continue to maximize those ODP opportunities on our upcoming projects. Strategy 3C, explore alternative revenue sources. First is to develop a marketing and advertising program. We have completed the RFP and contracted with an advertising firm for digital and athletic advertising. We have begun that digital advertising as of July 1. You'll see the ads popping up on our website now. And we have received our first check for that. Next steps in this area are going to be to evaluate the effectiveness of the current digital advertising program. We also want to start implementing athletic advertising and consider adding in-house staff for advertising initiatives. So we'll be talking more about that. Next, we have expand community outreach. And our goal here for last year, basically we got the sales tax passed, which was a huge accomplishment. Now what we want to do is ensure that we keep the community well informed of what we're doing with those sales tax dollars. So we have a couple of ideas of how to increase that communication out throughout the community. And lastly, we are also adding a new activity under Strategy 3C to expand the use of electronic payment cards. We began this last year, but we're really trying to ramp it up more. So we have completed an RFP and contracted with a new provider for our payment card services, which we're in the process of implementing. So our next steps will be to implement, which will allow us to earn a higher rebate percentage for every transaction that we're able to pay via the credit card. And we'll also be working on expanding the number of vendors who accept credit card as a method of payment. I also wanted to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about our annual grant funding. What you see here in front of you on the left-hand side is the total federal grant funding that we received last year during 16-17. And this is about our normal annual grants. Most of the entitlement grants, Title I, IDEA, Child Nutrition Services, make up the bulk of that. Another thing that we have really made a push for is to go after more competitive grants. So you'll see the numbers have already drastically increased going into this year. And then this next slide, a little small, but you'll see at the bottom an additional $19.3 million that we've gone after in terms of competitive grant applications. And these were filed last year. You can see the total awarded amount over on the right-hand side. So we have received a significant amount of those. We still have one or two pending. And then 2 additional competitive grant applications that we have filed so far this year. So with that, that concludes my presentation. Any comments or discussion?
Maybe so. Let me get back to my notes. My quick comment, which is just a thank you. I appreciate the thought that you guys have put into implementing this very important area of our strategic plan. And I like the number of the areas. I know you and I have discussed some of these, but a number of the areas that you guys are looking at and how to add upon the work that's already being done, White Fleet and other things like that, to find additional savings. On the advertising piece, what's our anticipated timeline for implementation on that? Do we know?
We are still in conversation with the vendor with whom we contracted for that piece, because we're not exactly excited with the progress that we're making there. So I believe you'll see a potential job description at the next board meeting agenda, where we're looking to potentially bring that in-house with the understanding that if that position is filled, that individual will be expected to earn at least enough to cover the salary, but I anticipate much more from my previous experience.
Okay. On the communication on the sales tax projects, the board had previously discussed having a consistent look and feel. Are we still going in that direction, and that's what we're looking at for signage and different things to communicate to the community?
Correct. And the board gave us direction that you wanted the same colors, I believe, because we had originally proposed one for impact fee projects and one for sales tax projects. We're going with the same, just identifying those that are differently. The first sign is up at Tahoe-Caliga High School. And then we're working on some of the smaller project stuff that we've done, as well as, and obviously soon we'll be starting at Michigan Avenue.
Good. On the signs, can you guys add a really big picture of Kelvin? No, Kelvin. Kelvin on it. I think it would be good. No, it's good. Thank you.
Before we do that, though, you gotta find out how you want me to pose and with what type of background.
Do we get to choose?
The surfer Cal.
I want you holding a Persian cat.
I like it. Little pinky ring as well?
Yeah, I yield the floor.
Any other comments?
Yeah, if we're going to do this now, I've got a couple questions.
All
I'll
right.
ask them later. But Tim touched on the White Fleet very briefly, and I just have a comment on it. Do we have, and I don't want to do it now, but sometime you can tell me, a policy on retirement of vehicles or not? Because there's a little green van that has become quite the celebrity with 600 and something thousand miles on it. And while I get being frugal is good and everything else, but I'd hate to find out we're spending $9,000 a year on transmissions and engines on it. So I'm on another board, and their retirement policy is, I think, probably too quick. But and I'm assuming, again, more just a question, I'm not looking for an answer tonight, that we do have some sort of tracking on maintenance costs, because there are some vehicles that just are lemons and just, it doesn't matter what you do, they stay in the shop. But I get some people that I know that work and use vehicles. I'm never around them where I don't get an earful on You know, it's in the shop for 3 weeks. I picked it up and I got to the 7-Eleven and had to have it towed in. So I'm just curious. I'm assuming we tracked that if we're good. Question on the tax savings, and I should know this, but like the $957,000 on the high school, is when we do a budget and it's 75 million or whatever, is that backed out or is this a true savings?
That is a true savings by buying the materials directly.
Right.
We're not paying tax on them.
No, but I mean, when we said
but-
the school was 75 million, had we already subtracted this out?
No,
Okay.
we have not.
So this
And
school's gonna
as we
come in-
generate those sales tax savings, then we're able to buy back other things that were not available for the project.
Okay, and I guess that's kind of what I was wondering.
So the
if that's
money
happening,
will
which
the
is
money will
fine.
stay in that project's budget.
But I guess where I'm coming from is we go through and we make decisions on the initial budget of the school, and we say, okay, we're not going to plant a tree here, we're not going to have a sidewalk over here.
Mm-hmm.
Do we ever find out if those things come back, or does somebody else willy-nilly put other things back in?
Cover the basketball courts?
The basketball court. I mean, it's $1 million. It's,
Yeah.
which I can remember having a conversation on stuff that was in.
Mr. Clinch will, at our next facilities workshop, update the board on the value engineering items that we've been able to buy back, as well as where we are there. This number is much higher than our previous projects. Obviously, we haven't built a new school in 10 years. So but his team has very aggressively been able to bring some things back that are important. Like, for example, some of the lighting on athletic fields that we weren't going to be able to do, we're trying to do, and they are going back to the list that the board kind of prioritized. But we'll certainly make sure that we make you aware of that, and then if there are any other decision points, we'll bring that to you at a workshop.
$1 million is great. I mean, that's pretty exciting stuff, but I just kind of want to see where it's going to.
Also, some of the FF&E items had gone over what we had anticipated, particularly the technology, because of the advances there and the things that we want to do in the school, as well as the 6 CTE academies. So some of these dollars we're trying to repurpose there to make sure that we don't exceed the budget, but get what you wanted in the school.
Sure. Nice job, Sarah. And
Thank
your
you.
team. Thank you.
Thank you all.
So Ms. Stefanowicz is going to give us an information agenda, a presentation on the Technical Education Center Osceola rebrand.
Before she starts, I have to assume there must be somebody in TICO, or whatever the new name is, that's in this weight loss program with us.
What are you saying?
Anybody that starts a weight loss competition and brings little hot dogs, chicken sandwiches on homemade biscuits, empanadas, it's not even really very fair.
Because I ate every one of them.
And everything he left down there, I picked it up, so it's.
We didn't get that memo,
It's very
so-
foul play.
Well,
Blame it on Ott.
it's all Tom's fault. Well, Chairman Soto, members of the board, Superintendent Pace, I'm honored to share with you the current status of where we are in the rebranding process for TICO. I think in our business travels, we all come across a question that we're probably asked over and over, and that's, can the region support the anticipated demand for talent now and into the future? TICO plays a very vital role in that talent development pipeline, particularly as it pertains to those employment opportunities that are falling within a burgeoning skills gap. That's good for us because there's a lot of opportunity for us to grow into programs that this community greatly needs to continue growing employment opportunities. The problem we have is we have a perception problem. There's a belief that technical centers don't provide the same educational quality as a college. Through our brand dive that was done through REACH, TICO, we found out, is often confused as a high school or an alternative school, or it's some part of the electric company. People don't have a really clear understanding of what it is that we offer to the community. So we believe that a name change will help us overcome some of these biases. There are 37 states who offer what are called sub-baccalaureate programs, which is what TICO is, post-secondary adult vocational. Tennessee and Utah changed their entire systems from technical centers to technical colleges, and through their study they found that they got a 15 to 25% increase in enrollment. So that's a significant number of additional students that they can, or adults that they can support into better employment. So we've been working on this brand positioning perception problem with Kelly Trace from REACH. She's going to walk you through the process that we followed to come to a different name, and then Mr. Ott is going to share with you some of where we are and where we'd like to go and how it all kind of connects back together through the rebrand process.
Hi, good evening. I just want to say thank you, Chairman Soto, school board members, and Superintendent Pace for having us. My name is Kelly Trace, and I'm the Chief Strategist at REACH, which is a marketing firm here locally. Our office is in downtown Kissimmee. So just if I could take a moment to thank my team that has worked on this project at REACH. A lot of us are from Osceola County. A lot of us are Osceola School District graduates, so it was a really good point of personal pride for us to be able to bring a really good brand to a really important part of the future workforce of our community. Myself, I graduated from OHS in 2004. Christine Zwick, who's here, graduated from OHS in 2006. And you'll find that the brand tonight that's in front of you was actually done by an OXA grad who graduated in 2013. So I'm pretty proud of that, to share that with you. We start all of our clients, the very first thing that we do is called a brand dive. And we went in and we learned to talk and walk like the client. We went into TICO and met with every single one of their program directors and their leadership to just learn about TICO, what it is, trying to overcome our own personal perceptions of what we knew TICO to be or thought it to be. And by doing that, we were able to really understand who we think the targets are for TICO. So in your packet in front of you, you'll find something called buyer personas. Those are what we call our target audiences. Every single student that we try to reach for TICO and moving forward in all of our marketing efforts or your marketing efforts are outlined there, and everyone has to be talked to differently. And so we can't market to one student any same way. So that's kind of why we take the time to spell those out. We took a look at what we wanted the name to be, what we felt was going to be good for the community, good for the students, and also what we didn't want it to be, just so that we could kind of clear the air and get that out of the way. Once we were done with the brand dive with the TICO team, we actually hosted a retreat with community stakeholders, and that included people who would employ future TICO graduates, business leaders, public-private partnerships and their leaders. Anybody who would have anything to say about TICO, and Superintendent Pace joined us. Also, we wanted to put everybody in a room and, let's say, if your competitor was going to call the newspaper, what are they going to say about you? We want to know how people are going to come after us so that we can make sure that we're prepared in all cases for those things. So one thing we decided we at that retreat, we said the brand needed to acknowledge TICO's history in the community, the Osceola County's roots. It needs to take TICO into the next chapter, whatever that may be. It needs to be something that students can be excited about, as well as the staff in the district. One thing that a lot of us can relate to is, being a part of an alumni association, and I'm a proud Osceola alumni for sure. I'm a Cowboy through and through. And I think we want to create some of that type of environment at TICO for their graduates also. Like I mentioned, elevating the perception of TICO in the community also. And the idea that TICO is going to be the place where we make every student successful and ready for the future. So I'm kind of on the last, there we go, perfect. So we're recommending that the new name be Osceola Heritage Technical College. The brand really speaks to the tradition, the roots that we have, but the look of the brand and the feel of the brand and the advertisements really tell a story of who we really feel TICO is and where we want it to go moving forward. So do you want me to read the? Sure. Okay. In my best Morgan Freeman voice, here I go. And this is just to give you an idea of how we feel the brand story is going to be moving forward. It's the legacy and heritage of Osceola County that propels us towards a brighter tomorrow. Grounded in tradition, Osceola Heritage Technical College honors where we came from and guides us forward to where we want to go. Our community is constantly evolving, and us with it. Here is where we prepare students to succeed in the industries that will shape Osceola County's future, locally and beyond. At OHTC, we make every student future ready. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Ott.
So now that you've seen the direction that we are proposing we go in, we want to give you a little background on what we've been able to do over the past year at TICO. We knew that we needed to grow TICO. We knew that we needed to grow the influence that TICO has in the local community and workforce. We needed to grow our programs, and we needed to grow our population. One thing that I consistently hear in the day-to-day things that we do is, I'm not sure what TICO is, I'm not sure what TICO does. And even people that think that they know, when they come see it, it exposes what we jokingly call the best-kept secret in Osceola County, but we believe it's time to stop being a secret. But we needed to show that we were on the right path before we could bring this direction to you. So what we have is just some overall big picture growth to show you what we've been able to accomplish in one school year. Overall, we're able to grow our enrollment by 106 students, and that's a comparison from August to August. You have to keep in mind that we enroll throughout the school year. Last school year, we had right around 1,100 students throughout the entire year, and we are on a projection to beat that very, very favorably. We increased our overall dual enrollment by 111 students. That includes the students that come from the professional and technical high school, but also the students that for the first time in Osceola County were able to come to us from any high school this year. We increased that number by 142 students. To give you an idea of that growth, it is a 1,578% increase. We had 9 students from the other high schools in August 2016. We increased our technical skill attainment, the credential that our students need, by 118 industry certifications in the first year. That equates to about a 37% increase. It helps our students be more competitive when they look for a job. For our growth overall, we're looking at expansion in all 3 of our campuses. We're looking at adding an advanced manufacturing program in January 2018 at our Kissimmee campus. We're looking at increasing our footprint at St. Cloud through the help of the district with the diesel systems technician program opening in January 2018. We'll also be opening a computer systems and information technology program and a hotel and resort business management program at Point Siena in January 2018. We have also already added an additional section of medical assisting, which is our first program on all 3 campuses, and a construction pre-apprenticeship program through a community and district partnership that allows students to come for an 8-week training program at no cost to them, and I'm proud to say that all those students are now working, many at the new high school. We are also, in the future, August 2018 and beyond, looking at programs such as cybersecurity, expanding manufacturing to include production technology, expanding some of the sections of what we already offer, including pharmacy technician, and additional evening programs such as practical nursing. We're looking at dental assisting, and looking at increasing our footprint in Point Siena beyond the facility that we have to utilize some partners out there to impact that community more, perhaps an even culinary or automotive program. We are proud to say that we will be reporting a 94% completion rate for the 2016-17 school year. That means 94% of our students across all programs completed with credentials to go to work. We currently train in 28 of the fastest growing occupations in Workforce Development Area 12, Central Florida, and 22 of the occupations gaining the most new jobs over the next 15 years. We have continuing education programs. We are an AHA training center. Organizations such as Valencia College and the Department of Corrections have approached us to train under our certification for that. We actually just began a continuing education program for the Osceola Health Department as well on Saturdays. We have 16 current articulations with Valencia College. That's our post-secondary adult vocational credential to an associate degree program. But we've expanded our partnerships for continuing education to include career certificate to bachelor degree articulations with Herzing University. We just kicked off our very first cohort of registered nursing students, all of which were practical nursing students at TICO, and now get to take Herzing's RN program at a $22,000 scholarship on our campus. One of the things that you have in your packet that I think is very important for this endeavor is support from our local employers and business partners. In your packet, you have a letter of support for this name change from our Institutional Advisory Committee, as well as every Occupational Advisory Committee for every program that we have. Again, every single one of those committees have pledged their support to this change. As you look again at the new potential identity for TICO, we believe that the name change will more clearly inform the general public, as well as our business and industry, who the Osceola Heritage Technical College campuses are and what we do for the students there. The training opportunities that we provide will help us support Florida, Osceola County, and Central Florida's need for a skilled workforce that we hear is necessary every day. With that being said, we will be happy to take any comments or questions.
I'm going to get a job doing this. I'm really good at that.
All right, Tim, you're first.
You're hired.
the as I'm looking through, the support is support for the idea of changing from a technical center to a college, not necessarily direct support for the name change, correct?
Correct. We went through that process. We did not have a direction yet. I will say that we presented this this brand that you're looking at today to our Institutional Advisory Committee this past Thursday, and they unanimously supported it. In fact, I was trying to get them to give me some other feedback to help prepare for tonight, and we did not get any other than support for it.
Good. And that was just a question of clarification as I was looking through those. First, I want to say thank you for working through this process. It's something that we started talking about a number of years ago. We put it on the shelf, and I'm glad to see that it's being pulled back off because it is an important conversation. And as you know, because you and I have been on a similar speaking tour at times, going around certain areas of the county, I want you to know that I think you've done an exceptional job, and it's been my pleasure to stand by your side as we've talked about the great work that TICO's been doing throughout Osceola County. Additionally, the school board was in agreement with expanding the opportunities at the St. Cloud campus most recently, and I think that's another step in the right direction. My short comment is that I'm 100% in agreement with the idea of rebranding to a technical college as opposed to a technical center, and for all the reasons that you guys have so clearly articulated and laid out. And I'm very grateful that you've been intentional about creating engagement and buy-in in the process with a number of stakeholders, including some of the leadership team. Other than that, I'll yield for now and allow other board members to comment. I may have something in a few moments to come back to, though.
Anybody else? Mr. Thacker?
Just two things. Great work. I applaud you to kind of taking the bull by the horns on this and getting here. And just a comment on the importance of what the technical college is doing. Across the street, just a couple things that are going on in Neo City that just can kind of illustrate the importance of what's going on. We're in a conversation with a company that has narrowed down to 3 sites around the country, being Neo City across the street, a place in Atlanta, and a place in Texas. And their plan is by October of next year to bring 1,100 jobs to whichever site they choose. Neo City, I think, did a great job of getting narrowed down. But those jobs, many of those 1,100 jobs, I will tell you, are technically trained jobs. They're not, many of them are higher level, but there's probably more than 500 that would fall right into this category. So that's 500 people we probably need to get into a training field that they haven't been in before, that we haven't done before, and I think this is a plus to help get there. And I'm sure some of you have probably seen on the news, heard on the radio, or heard your friends talking about Amazon's looking to relocate a second headquarters. Neo City, as well as 2 other sites in Osceola County, are putting a pitch towards that. That's 50,000 workers. That is probably the biggest economic development project, possibly single project ever in the history of this country. Many of those are more professional jobs, but with 50,000 employees going to come a bunch of technical jobs and technical careers. So again, those are just 2, I wouldn't sit here and tell you it's 80% chance Amazon's coming here. I don't believe that, but I think we've got a shot. But there's the rest of the country all wants that shot too. But the point of that being not whether either one of those come, it's that things are starting to happen around here and companies are starting to look, and it's getting close, and it's important that we're ahead of that. It's important. I can tell you in both of those proposals, workforce is a key element of the ask. And what are you doing about it, and how are you doing it? And it's not just the ultra-professional PhDs, it's all the way through, because they've got to fill all those. So I applaud what you're doing. I'm fine with the name change. Looks good to me. So,
Mr. Booth?
Well, first of all, Kelly, congratulations. Good job. You know, I'm always proud of a lot of the work that you do. I know what you do for the rodeo across the street, and you guys do a great job. I'm definitely in support of changing the name from a technical center to a technical college. I think we've all went down that road. So I'm interested to hear what the other board members have to say about the name change and where we go from there.
You hear what I have to say.
I do.
You're looking at me when you're saying it.
we've all, two of us spoken.
Yeah.
No, well, look,
Jay, really?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I like the name Tico, so, but that's not what's important. What's important is, whether it needs to be changed by an objective measure. I would have probably called it, instead of Center College, Technical Education College of Osceola. And the reason is because I appreciate those, names that are just, that no matter where you go over the world, they're gonna say, okay, this looks like it's a public institution. But I see through this packet that there was overwhelming desire to change the name. So I'm going to say I'm wrong about that, even though my feelings are not that I would have changed the name. I'm looking at the design, and I got to say this is great work. I mean, I think that it's good and everything. I question, though, the inclusion of the word heritage, and the reason is because I know that is usually associated with private institutions for the most part, and with religiously affiliated private institutions. Usually when you're talking about a public, you look at, University of Florida or Florida State or Technical College or, I haven't seen a public institution with that inclusion. There may be at the K through 8, I don't know about the higher level. However, that doesn't mean that we have to be the same. Like, this could be something like breaking the ground. So again, from my experience, that it doesn't really flow with me. The rest does. But again, I guess you did your focus groups, right? And, if the research again says that this is what people feel is going to attract more students and better project, what your mission is and the branding, then that's really what matters. That goes on that. But I want to tell the staff and Mr. Ott, what you guys are doing, and I want to congratulate you on your success. I really, really enjoyed the presentation and all the movement, your enrollment, your new programs. It's very exciting to hear. I congratulate you. You're doing a wonderful job. I really thank you. I appreciate your efforts, of course, and of your staff. But that's about it. Like I said, I thought that TICO was a good name. I didn't know about the heritage, but research always should be what guides us, not what we personally think or feel, because we're very limited in what we know as individuals.
Now, I'm looking through here. I don't see curmudgeon Kelvin.
Hey, I would be remiss if I don't.
No, it's good.
That's what you.
Always adding back.
No,
Are you happy now that I spoke my mind?
Yes.
Okay. All right then. Next up, Mr. Thacker.
When I first saw Osceola Heritage, it struck me as a little different too, but really a different connotation to Kelvin. I'm just kind of curious where it came from, because when I looked at it as tied to Heritage Park next door.
I did too.
Was there a rationale where the word heritage kind of came from in here? Or?
Sure. We had to look at a lot of different ways that we could go with a name. We knew that we had to be a little bit different in how we did this, as Chairman Soto pointed out. We wanted to stay away from something as simple as Osceola Technical College. When you make this transition, you'll see a lot of students start using the acronyms. We already have an OTC very close to us in Orange County, so we didn't want to get that to be blended with what we're doing with our unique positioning down here. We also find that it's very important for our students to feel like they have access, geographical access to our campuses. I know that was a big factor in opening the St. Cloud and Point Santa extensions when that happened. So including the name Osceola in it helped us continue to do that. We wanted to be very clear to our student and our buyer personas, our potential students, that becoming a college did not put up barriers, did not become exclusionary to the types of students that we had. So going with something that's tied to the geography, that is a bit different, that does in ways become familiar when you look at the name itself, and then looking at the direction and the context, have that new feel to it as well, was important to us. So I hope that answered your question.
If I can, there was also some discussion in the brand dives that people were still grounded in the heritage. There's a rich, I'm new here, but there's a very rich cultural heritage here that's evolving. And there was some discussion in those brand drives about trying to hold on to a little bit of that heritage without completely turning away from it. So we felt that was important as well.
Feeding me is always a way to get by. It tends to work well. And actually, this has really grown on me a lot in the last couple hours. After seeing it the first time, I'm kind of used to it. I like it.
I don't know if that rationale really resonated with me though, but I understand what you're saying about holding on to the past. It just didn't make it for me though. And if that was one of the reasons, I would have thought a little bit more about what are we trying to do, here in terms of how we want our education and what we want to do in terms of inspiring students, which, quite frankly, there's so many, it's so diverse. So, but I understood it though. Mr. Weisler?
I actually felt the same way, Mr. Soto, when I first, and I guess Mr. Thacker to that point, when I first saw it. I did like that you incorporated the Osceola County Association of Realtors as you were looking at this, and the Osceola County Cattlemen's Association. I thought that was.
The good work had already
I helped
been
design
done,
that one.
I thought that was really smart to do that and make sure that it was included for our benefit. So my first reaction was the same. It doesn't roll off my tongue. It doesn't really communicate what we're looking for as a board. I will say, though, that Morgan Freeman's presentation on the layout of it and the intent behind it certainly helped me a lot. And so I think tying that in, the concern, if I were to have one, would be that most people in passing won't get to that paragraph to understand it. And you know that we have a split second to sell something in our very fast-paced world. I could land, I believe, where Mr. Thacker said, which is it wouldn't have been my first pick, but it's not wrong, it's not bad. I can like it. I do very much agree and appreciate the comment about the heritage. We've all talked about that. We're all very proud of Osceola County and the history and the heritage that we enjoy here in our community and many of us grew up with. So I appreciate that being incorporated, although if I were being honest, my first thought was very similar to Mr. Soto's, which is Osceola Heritage. I don't know about that. But I'm okay with it, and I don't say that as like, I'll settle if we have to settle. As said, it's not bad, it's not broken. I see it. I like the brand. I like some of the additional logos that you guys have tied in for some of the advanced manufacturing, industrial health services. Those pieces I think are spot on. I like the way they look. They're very clean. I like the ad slicks that have been put together with some of the imagery and the career options. I like how you guys incorporated some of those, which I know a number of those exist already. So just to kind of put my thoughts out there for the benefit of the board, that's where my head was at as I looked through it as well.
No, and Tim, I think that when you're referring,
yes,
this is excellent. I mean, this is very attractive and everything. And it is with branding, and I work a lot with branding as well. It's you have this space right here, you have the science here. You want all of this to support that, okay? And I think that here you have enough letters for maybe something else that goes into the technical aspects, the medical aspects, or something like that. I love that Osceola Heritage Park is named the way it is, because we're talking about a park and about events but when we're talking about education and we're talking about, it's a little bit different. The branding really wants to do is grab that student and bring them in. And number two, it wants to project in transcripts and other things where people put in their resumes, something that, wow, you wanted to give it the most, serious, appeal, and that's what, what I would have said, Again, though, I wouldn't not vote for this because you've already said that this is what you guys worked in and this is what was a very positive feedback. So I have to take that over what I would feel on that.
I mean, look, everything is new and fresh. I think I was discussing with Mr. Ottout before. I always thought, well, not always, but over the last maybe decade or so, I thought the TICO logo and imagery was very dated. And I think that was maybe part in the sell. You look at it and you think, wow, that it just doesn't say, hey, this is fresh, this is new, come get a new career, come learn a new skill. I mean, obviously what we're looking at here in the marketing information that's provided, that all says that. certainly I'm always a fan of heritage and all. I just want to make sure we know that this name is going to sell to our immigrant Anna. Is that what her name was in there? I mean, we you know, and sorry, Anna's unsuccessful. Sorry, she Isabel. Sorry, you know, that's my. I mean, I love the name. I think it's great, but I want to make sure in these concerns, thinking about everybody else in this, that we make sure that we know that if we have a young Hispanic student from whether it be Puerto Rico or whether it be New York or somewhere. Or from anywhere in the world. Anybody from anywhere that's not Osceola says, "Hey, I want to go to this college, and I'm going to make a big, this is going to make a difference in my life." Of course, I love especially the ad work that's been done looks great.
Yes,
that is exactly what TICO has needed for a long time. So kudos to you.
Very excited about this. This looks really.
So, can you maybe talk to that a little bit about Immigrant Isabel and about maybe some of those folks?
Yeah.
They come.
So just to kind of go a little bit deeper into what buyer personas are, there are target students or target audiences, if you're in sales, but what we try to make sure every single part of the brand we develop reaches every single buyer persona. And certainly in education, there are going to be a ton of different buyer personas. I think we have like 10 to 15 different types of students that can come from all different walks of life. And we definitely made sure through the branding and the launch of, at least in this document, that we were speaking to every single one. And I think some of it, anytime we do a branding project, people get very caught up into, the logo and the actual look at the logo, but we're telling a story here. This is like so much more than this is. You're talking about promising somebody a really great potential future. And I think we have to do a really good job of telling that story too, not just focusing on like what the look and the logo is too. So I think it will have to be paired up really well.
Board, Dr. Pace, you've been quiet. You haven't.
Well, I certainly think this is something that we wanted the board to give us some really honest feedback on. I'll be honest, when they first came to sell these to me, because we looked at a couple of different ones, this wasn't necessarily my first choice, but it really grew on me over time, particularly when you start to think about the OHTC and you look at the way it forms for the different programs. And we do talk about the fact that we want our students to be responsible and productive citizens, but to value and appreciate their experience here in Osceola County, and that they want to make it their home, that it becomes a heritage for their family, both past and future. So that's where I think it kind of started to connect, and I think that was the experience that Mr. Ott and some of the other folks who worked so intimately on this. I will tell you that I also had the opportunity to share it this morning with the Criminal Justice Advisory Group for the TICO Criminal Justice Program, and they liked it.
Chairman, just a thought. Mr. Booth said something that was very important, and I think we all probably think, which is that the TICO brand has been very tired for a long time. And so, I mean this with all due respect, but we may have been able to present the groups anything, and they may have liked it because we've all been wanting to get away from that for so long. That's not to undermine the comment or the work at all, and you know how I feel about your work. But I think, so that's that point. The other thing I would say is, as we're looking at some of these other things, and maybe as I'm kind of trying to work through this and find peace with it, is I'm looking at Universal Technical Institute, Manatee Technical College, Florida Technical College, Atlantic Technical College, and that's not to say we need to be the same. Florida State University, right? You just go down, like, it's 4 words is a lot. 2 and 3 words isn't. You know what I mean? When we're Valencia College. So just for what it's worth, and I'm not saying that we're talking about 2 of the exact same apples here, but I'm just saying that in our dialogue and the way that we communicate with people, 2, 3 words seems to fit a lot better than 3, 4, 5 words, and that I think just personally, and I may be wrong, and it may be to your point, Kelvin, that it's just a personal bias or viewpoint as I'm talking through it. But I'm trying to share with you what I'm thinking as I'm processing this, and I'm trying to be open and honest with the board so that we can have the type of conversations I know we want to have. And I would just say to particularly the three of you and Christine as well, don't take, I know you don't, but don't take any of this personal. The biggest thing, and one of the things that I love about this board so much, is that we genuinely value one another's opinions. We look to have honest conversations with one another. We look to get better and smarter and make the best decisions and leaning on and working off of one another. And so just know that as you guys stand here and you may want us to just say, it's beautiful, we love it, go. We really take serious the work that we do as a school board, and we try to really think long and hard about the decisions we make and what the long-term benefits and long-term impacts may be on what it is that we're accountable for. So just for what it's worth.
Mr. Thacker.
I'd like y'all to ignore everything Tim just said.
That's smart. I've got my fidget spinner while you're speaking.
No, I actually I agree with pretty much everything Tim just said there. I've got a question, maybe more for Melanie and for Kelvin, because I kind of like. The word heritage to me is kind of a nice word. There's not a whole lot you can think of that's bad. But I'm curious from people that are newer to the community or newer to the area, does it have a negative connotation to you or a I'm not welcome connotation to either of you?
Let me clarify something. See, Tim and Mr. Weiser and I, so we're involved a lot with customers. I mean, we have businesses, so we think about branding a lot, our practices and our business. So we actually do a lot. I'm going to assume of this because your branding is very good, so I know it's not by accident. And so it really wasn't so much of that. Is that, when I have done, my own thing about naming, businesses, or I consulted, I do research on that. And first of all, the three words really is the golden thing when it comes to almost anything. 2, 3 words. When you go to 4 words, then they have to really have a hook. It can't be something that you eventually grow into. Yeah, I mean, if somebody is nearby and that's their only option, they'll grow into it. But if you want to go ahead and say you want a business from outside of what the normal market is, you want to be able to hook them on. But no, it's just that I looked through real quick. We were speaking. I typed in Heritage School and started looking and clicking on everything that came out on Google, and there were private institutions. I didn't click on one that was a public. And we already have the name, like you mentioned, and if it's a continuation of that theme, then that's the reason. That's a good reason. But for a institution of higher, I think that for charter school, I clicked and there were a lot of charter schools with heritage. But I didn't see anyone for a public institution. And see, public institutions, the whole thing is that, when you put it on a resume, it's not whether people are going to enroll because of that word or not. Very few people are going to think too much about it. It doesn't do anything negative to answer your question. It really isn't that. No. It was just a pure branding thing. Now, there may be some people that would look into it and say, okay, this is transmitting to me either, religious or a traditional or a conservative. But who really makes a determination on getting a degree on that? I don't know. I couldn't even take a guess.
Did you want me to?
Yeah, I'm just curious what you're...
So when you think about the way that our community is going to be evolving, and you have families who are going to be looking for a new home, they're looking for a new heritage.
So not a negative to you, though. What do we...
Just a thought. What if it was heritage and bear in mind, I know this gets similar to TICO, but Heritage Technical College of Osceola, the Osceola is just an add-on. It's an afterthought. We use it when we need to, but we stay focused on the Heritage Technical piece. It's already used. What do you guys think? Just a thought.
I'm good. Like I said, I just wanted to go ahead and express that, but.
I'm okay as it. I kind of like the uniqueness. It's growing. I'm telling you, when I first saw it at, I don't know, 2 hours ago, it struck,
This is just
kind of struck
information.
me. But maybe the
I
fact
don't
that
think
it's
we're-
made me think about it for, other than just this conversation, I've thought about it while we've been sitting here. And after I ate, and it's.
You didn't eat.
Yeah. No, I didn't eat. I ate air, remember? I ate air. It's really,
Excuse me, I'm a member of the bar, you ate.
Move for a new attorney. I like it, it's kind of grown on me, and I like, it's kind of very unique. It feels different to me. I don't
Maybe
know.
somebody thinks they're going to a private school.
Yeah, is that a bad thing?
I mean, there's a lot of free advertising every time somebody says Osceola Heritage Park. You talking about Heritage Park, or you talking about the technical college?
Those are all very good points. Those are all
But I
very
actually understand where you and Tim and even some of the
Yeah.
concerns that Clarence said. I have those same concerns. But as Clarence said, it just I think it's going to take time. But I think it's I like it.
I mean, think about this also, who we're competing with. I believe that if in here you could jump in at any time. I think that we're competing a lot with FTC. These are the locals one, right? We're competing with Mech Tech, correct?
Terrible, by the way. Terrible.
No, hold on. We're competing with some of these that I see here are local technical colleges, correct?
Some of them are, but I think that if we see some of the growth that we're expecting through both Neo City and what's projected in the Florida 2030 plan, there's going to be enough for everybody. I mean, we're a small institution comparatively, and we can't serve every single student's needs. Yes, we would like to grow our enrollment, we would like to expand our programs, but if we look at things realistically, if we're trying to fill a workforce and a skills gap that's burgeoning right now, TICO can't do it alone. So we are competitive with those agencies. To be transparent with you, we are. But I believe that if they're going to bring in Amazon here, we can't serve all of the local residents who may want to work there. There will be enough to go around. Don't you think?
And I think one of the things to keep in mind, as we think about this with those competitors, is the major difference is the for-profit versus the nonprofit, and the opportunity that we have for, I'll say conservatively, 95% of our students leave our programs with very little money out of their pockets is huge.
Then that is not the biggest difference.
Yeah,
the
it's
biggest
huge.
difference is the fact that the education that we provide, because we're a public institution, is of better quality and lower cost.
Absolutely.
Flat out than these competitors.
Absolutely.
It's not the same thing. Students, a random student is better off enrolling and getting their degree from TICO. Okay, that is clear. So we're not the
Agreed.
same thing. And that's what, and we want to make sure they know that too.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's how you're getting your increased enrollment.
And that's partially how we landed on the every student future ready. Whether you're going to continue your education, you go into a job, and then continue your education. If you leave us with no debt, you become an immediate impact to the community. So we tried to marry the two. Mr. Weissayer, I like your suggestion for the name. We did have some other iterations of a name, of a direction. Well, one of the things we're very cognizant of is trying not to appear as a for-profit. And some of the names that came up, I think, gave that perception when people were looking at it. We did poll about 6 of the names and 6 of the potential taglines to our staff, to our business and community partners, and to students on our National Technical Honor Society. And what you see today, both the tagline and the name, were the ones that came back with the most, number one picks.
This one came back with the most from students, staff, everyone?
Across the board.
Tim?
The tagline's exceptional. It's exactly what we want. Melanie, what was your reaction when I said the Heritage Technical College? You reacted, and I'm just curious what that was. Was it that it?
I'm a little still sometimes a high school person sometimes, and I have to write it down quickly to make sure that we're not coming up with an acronym that may not be appropriate.
Okay.
So, but sometimes my mind works in a little dyslexic way, so when I wrote it down and I saw it, I knew we were okay.
Okay. That's good. I like that. We just had that discussion not too long ago. I don't want to miss something that was just said, which is incredibly important to me. I think all of us, but I know to me personally, the ability for our students to come out of this school not riddled with debt and to be ready to enter the workforce and to get into available gainful employment cannot be missed and is not missed on me. The work and the opportunity of this school has and will continue to be quite significant for our students. And one of the biggest impediments financially for people across the United States right now is college debt. Like it or not, it's just the simple fact of it. And I lead national conversations on the impact that that exact thing is having on the financial well-being of individuals and families all across this great country. So that point that you made is extremely important. My question is for the superintendent. You got maybe more than you hoped for. What is the desired? So I know the desired outcome would have been board. Here it is. Do you love it? Yes, we love it. Let's all hug and let's move on. That's not where we're at. What is the timeline and the process that you're envisioning from here?
Our hope tonight was that we would reach some consensus among the board so that we could bring back an actual recommendation for your approval at our next meeting. I can certainly send the team kind of back to not the original drawing table because they have done some polling that was very successful and brought us to where we are today. I would like to potentially recommend that you guys give this a little bit more thought. Feel free to individually reach out to Melanie or to Kelly or to Tom or to me if you have some other ideas or suggestions that you'd want us to consider. Part of the problem with the three words, again, like the Osceola Technical College was the OTC connection to one of our neighboring colleges. And if I remember correctly, the stakeholder input said that we really didn't want to lose sight of the fact that this is in Osceola County. It's a part of the Osceola School District. And so I don't know that we want to push that to the end. But that's my personal opinion from a professional perspective, but still my opinion. And ultimately, it's up to this board that's going to give us that direction. Certainly we can go back, kind of look at it, give you guys some time to think about it, and then over the next 2 weeks, I would just ask that you give us some additional input.
And that's why I asked is because, the conversation is always helpful for the board. This is the first time, as you know, we get to sit and talk through some of these things. But to that point, we don't have to solve it all tonight. We've had some good dialogue. I don't know if the board is good or not or wants to talk more, and I'm glad to hear it if they are. But we've had some good dialogue. We've heard, thoughts, ideas, and concerns. I think there's opportunity for us to, as you said, kind of think through it, process it, have some conversations with the team that's done an exceptional job of putting together the work product, and the presentation was exceptional, to be honest, and then find the direction and the piece that we need to have to move forward.
That would be great.
Just my last 2 cents. I hear Tim and where he's coming from. Me personally, I'm good.
But this is an opportunity to think a little bit more, and maybe there's something alternative. You have a lot to look through your focus groups and everything, and maybe it isn't. I think that you heard from Tiger, at least. All right? Board, anything further?
I'm good too. So I just want to make sure.
There you go.
I think it was, I'm just going to tell a story on myself. You were talking about we're not a gas company. I think it was you, Melanie, said that just a week and a half ago. I was at a meeting. We're putting together a proposal for somebody coming here, and I think it was actually Amazon. And all of a sudden it goes, who's going to get a hold of TICO? We got to get TICO. We got to get a commitment. I'm thinking, what in the world is TICO got to do? It was the gas line in front of going down 192. So I think of TICO the other way.
Thank you for that.
All right. Thank you very much.
I'm also glad it's some
Thank you, guys.
form or
Great job.
fashion. We will not be using TICO anymore.
Yes, yes, I agree.
All right.
Then I won't be
Yeah,
confused.
I think that much was clear. There was a real desire to change the name. That was clear. What
We'll keep
the name
looking.
is right now probably needs to, a little bit more thought into it. All right. See, I'm going to go ahead and call for the public speaker at this time before we, she left, but she left. Good.
Oh,
So then we'll move on to the next item.
I don't think we got to enter that into anything.
Yeah.
We are now to the regular agenda
I will move for
items.
approval of items A and B.
Second.
Motion to approve A and B by Mr. Thacker, second by Mr. Booth. Board, any discussion on any of these two items? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, vote passes 4-0.
Mr. Chairman, I will move for the approval of items C through F under the Chief of Staff for Teaching recommendation.
I will second that.
All right, so we got a motion to approve item
number
C.
8.
Item C through F under Roman numeral 8 by Mr. Booth, second by Mr. Thacker. Board, any discussion on these items? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I hear none. Vote passes 4-0. We're down to business and finance. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve items G through M. Is it Mary?
The motion to approve items G through M.
No, I'm just checking. Give me 2 seconds, Chairman.
Not a problem.
No, I'm good.
Okay, second by Mr. Soto. Board, any discussions? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please state aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, vote passes 4-0.
I'll make a motion to approve item N.
Second.
Information and Technology
Motion
Services.
to approve N by Mr. Booth, second by Mr. Weissier. Any discussion on item N? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, vote passes 4-0.
I'll make a motion on facilities to approve letter O.
And I'll second that.
It's a motion by Mr. Weissier to approve item O, second by Mr. Thacker. Board, any discussion on item O? Hearing none, we vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, vote passes 4-0. We're down to school operations. Mr. Shatera? Superintendent's recommendation, Dr. Case. Attorney report on legal issues.
Members of the board, I just report to you, today we met with Judge Strobridge, Mr. Phelps, Ms. Lane regarding truancy, and I think culminated in a process that eliminated what I consider to be the unnecessary expenditure of legal fees. And both the judge, and I really want to compliment Mr. Phelps and Ms. Lane, we basically have formed everything to operate more efficiently. And I would just tell you from an operational standpoint, the data and report of what they have accomplished in turning the life around of children who were brought in over truancy is overwhelmingly impressive, Dr. Pace. I mean, it's just remarkable how well the judge could not stop talking about the work that's done by the school system with those children and how much it's changed their lives. So I just publicly really want to point out, I was proud to be sitting there today seeing that. So, and then tonight we have a closed session on a lawsuit.
Very well. Superintendent's update.
Just a couple of reminders. Next Tuesday, the 10th, we have our impact fee study workshop with the board from 12:30 to 2:30 here in the boardroom. And also the following Tuesday, we're going to complete our master board training starting at 11:30 in the finance conference room upstairs. It's going to be a long day, but we're going to have a nice lunch. Kelly Owen is coming from FSBA. And don't forget that you do have homework. So she asked that I remind you to please answer your questions and bring them with you on the 17th. I'm serious about that. Because remember, we're going to complete our homework and do our master board training, and then that will complete our process. as long as we're all successful and present on the 17th from 11:30 to 4.
Since you put it that way.
Mrs. Trace, will you please do my homework for me?
Unfinished business. I don't know any board member has unfinished business. I know Jay's not here. Who's our?
He would've had something.
He would have had something. Okay, none. All right. No, we missed Jay. Too bad, you know. We're like a hand with missing a thumb. You know. This is how it is.
You're right. He isn't here.
It's like the biggest.
I didn't even realize that.
It's like a hand missing. Does this look good to you?
I thought.
He's that thumb that keeps it all. All right, new business. Board members, I didn't get any message from any of you wanting to discuss any new business. Board member comments and committee report, I think we could dispense with that. And so at this point, we're going to recess for executive session.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
On behalf of the weight loss team, would Tanya please grab all that candy and food away from these other members on the team?
I'm not on the team, so I'll be glad to indulge.
I'm not on the team. And if we come up with another name, I don't want another cookie. Until January. Then I want a lot.
We may need Mr. Boyd to create a policy that Tanya can't make any cookies before the board meetings either.
You're supposed
Or we could have an exercise walk before the board meeting. Meet outside.
You're supposed to not change the environment, okay?
Do we stand in recess,
Actually, I
Chairman?
could have.
Yes.
I said that if I lost 10%
Stand in recess, right, Chairman?
I could lose 10%. Yes.
Hey, guys.
Recess.
Did we decide?
Okay, gosh.